It's a nice morning, Saturday morning. I don't have Japanese this morning, so I've got a bit more time. And what are you doing?
I'm playing with my dolls.
Right. And what's that one wearing? What are you wearing?
Your old socks.
That's my old sock?
I made it.
The one that got a hole in,
yes.
and you've turned it into a glove. And then the other one's been turned into a dress. You cut the holes yourself with these scissors,
yes.
yeah?
Right.
Okay, so you're like a fashion designer then.
Well, I can show the second fashion from here. Well.
Sort of like a red cape at the back, like
this one here.
Is that made from a bit of sock as well?
Yes.
Oh dear, I hope you're not undressing on camera, this doll.
No, it's this fashion now. I'll show. That fashion. Stop.
Okay. So you're going to be a clothes designer then? Right. Piano lesson happens later. See what everybody else is doing.
Later can you come? I'll show my old opera for the dolls.
You're going to show the opera for what? Are you telling me that?
She's from opera.
Opera Winfrey?
Like she's gone through the opera. She lives.
Is he the Phantom then of the opera?
Yes.
Why has he got no trousers on? In my opinion, the Phantom of the Opera always wore trousers.
Okay. That's the new ones.
That's not my sock.
But
okay. You made trousers out of a sock as well, did you? Okay. Well, there's not an awful lot of opera going on at the moment.
no, he's getting on his trousers. He wants to watch Christine Diet.
Okay. Well, you okay? Is
Later
he?
I'll get
Well,
you.
is he going to be the Phantom or is he going to be what's his face?
Raoul.
Raoul.
That's the Phantom. I'll show you which one. That's the Phantom.
So if that's completely naked and it's a woman, so how can that be the Phantom? That can be Christine Dyer's.
No.
What's the name of that character? Friend. Awful.
She is the teacher of ballet.
All right.
And she is
A good moustache.
Charlotte.
I'm not going to film naked dolls. Sorry.
But it's not the fashion of the opera.
Well, there's no singing happening, so I'm leaving. Okay. Какой нет сигнала? Почему нет сигнала от компьютера?
Несущие башни будут высотой со 100-этажных небоскребов 320 метров, а пролет между башнями составит километр и 104 метра. Он будет самым длинным в мире. Построенный на острове после Савы.
Well, I'm not really sure about why. I'll try and reconnect the whole thing. The little antennaes down there, so I don't really know. You'll have to restart the machine. Just do a hard restart on it. Перегрузи.
Как? Выключить и включить?
Да.
Здесь?
Да. So here we go. So we got the first. Hello to you too. Что? Well, it won't unless you press this button
Ну, я
for it.
нажала.
How many seconds? About 5 seconds.
Ага.
Yeah, and then again. Now watch. It says no signal, but give it a second. If it still doesn't, oh, here it is. If it still didn't come on, then we'd have to check the cables. But it's all right. So. Go on. You go to the toilet. I won't film you. This is the. This is the beginnings of the lilac blossom. That's Chinese lilac, that's European lilac. That's the good old beginnings of all the leaves coming back and whatever's going to survive. Every year more things don't survive the winter. I don't understand this, how poor it is. I mean, the peonies, which were supposed to be okay through many years, they don't appear to have made it. Well, that may be early days to say about it. Usually I let things go until my birthday, which is the 26th of May, and then only then. Now maybe they are coming, aren't they? That's a little bit juicy. Those, they're just slow in getting going. There's a few buds there. They look drier though. I'm not so optimistic about those. I think the winter was just a little bit too long for them this year. Maybe a couple of them didn't make it last year, and then I think a couple more aren't making it this year. The Berberis, half of them are coming out well, the other half not so well. I do this every April, don't I? And what we got here? Some kind of bramble appearing from nowhere. That's a juniper. That's last year's Christmas tree. That's this year's Christmas tree over there. And this, which has been looked after so many years, seems to have finally given up the ghost this winter.
Я посадила там на Турцию. Я посадила здесь на Турцию и здесь.
А почему это умерло?
Я не знаю.
This thing's supposed to be able to take all sorts of conditions. I just don't understand what's going on with these
Я такую
plants.
на Турцию посадила, которая вьется, до 3 метров высоту растет.
Okay. Well, plant something on it that's actually going to use the trunk and all those branches as a frame, I'd say. Some kind of climber around the base of it. Pity. Oh. This one too, the second one, is also seems to have had it. That was also good last year. These Rokitniki. The viburnum hasn't come back. Honestly, the difficulty in getting anything to survive on this thing. The gooseberries have no trouble. That's always back with no trouble at all. I think what I need to do is plant this whole thing out with conifers and gooseberries, and I'll be fine. My wife's bought a bunch of strawberry plants, but we had strawberries before, and have they come back? Doesn't look like it. Looks like the strawberries didn't make it either, so she spent a lot of money on something that's going to effectively last a year. But there we go. They haven't appeared yet anyway. She got them by mail order. Difficult to understand sometimes why people do this. That's interesting though, isn't it? This Rokitnik actually still, that's going to bud. So I've got one sea buckthorn, or Rokitnik, which is actually still looks as though it's going to bud, out of the 3. In fact, I had 4. One of them died some time ago. I had 4 in total once, so I got 1 left, the smallest. And that's a male anyway, so I won't get any berries off it. That's the day today, that's the day of the funeral of the Uroczystość, the celebration, if you like, for the, not celebration, but the memorial service. That's what's going on around here at this moment. Today we've taken a good old rickshaw and some other bicycles here. My wife is also accompanied by her friend Marisha, who you've seen a couple of times in these videos. So that off they are, talking 19 to the dozen like girls do. I've been working on my languages. I'm just brushing up Hungarian at the moment and using a nice Polish series called Edgard for that. But I just wanted to have a look at the spring. Spring's a very nice time of year. At the moment you can see these poplar trees, these tall thin trees are called poplars, just coming into leaf there at the top. That's nice. Lots of noise being made by kiddywinkies. And the trees are, of course, are already in leaf. Just a few weeks ago, a week or 2 ago, there weren't any leaves, there was still snow, but they've kind of burst out as if from nowhere. And the funny thing about leaves at this time of the year is there's almost no sign of insect activity on them. So any leaf that you'd pick from that tree would almost be, you'd almost be willing to, if it were an edible leaf, not all of them are, of course. A horse chestnut is not necessarily a very edible tree, so I wouldn't suggest it, but from those trees which have nice edible leaves, like say the lime tree, which can be turned into an iced tea, for example, you could almost put the leaf in your mouth and chew it, and you wouldn't mind so much because there'd be no like kind of creepy crawlies on it. It's just fresh growth. You wouldn't need to wash it or anything almost. You just be able to take it and eat it. Although there's a bit of the old volcanic ash up there. I can't see any. There's no signs of the sky is bluer than you'd ever get actually, because I don't know if it can be heard over everybody talking in the background, but the sky is bluer than you'd ever normally get, because normally you'd get sort of like chemtrails going around from the aircraft. Yeah, there's these the things they leave behind them, jet stream as they call it, well, the real name is chemtrails, of course. But the whole sky is now free of any of that because there's a no-fly zone. So possibly, because of the volcanic ash, I can't see any up there. All I can see is perfectly blue sky. The nearest cloud is over there on the horizon there, as small as a man's hand, as it says in the book of, is it Kings or is it Chronicles? Where Elijah prays for rain. There's a cloud there's cloudless sky, and then one appears on the horizon just as small as a man's hand, and then before they know where they are, they're getting completely drenched. So, well, they're making quite a noise, aren't they? There's Tanya on the other swing trying to get in and out of it. So, nice spring day. The sun's up there, of course. Don't want to focus on that too much because it doesn't do the camera any good. But these leaves, it's like a kind of natural salad at the moment. And then later on, as the spring wears on, the insects all come out and catch up with this lovely feast. The leaves, once they get to full size, they're supposed to last the whole season. More appear, of course, if there's time. But it's really like the fight is then on, the race is on. What happens first? Can these leaves appear and catch all the sun and draw up all the water from the soil with the nutrients from the roots of the tree and grow more? Can that happen first, or will the insects get there first? Well, looking right now, almost nothing by way of insect growth visible. But in due course, before we know where they are, those insects who took a bit of a battering this winter because it was a long winter with lots of snow, lots of pressure on them, but they're going to come back, don't you worry. They're built to see it through, and so see it through they will. They'll come out from behind the bark of the tree, which is warming up in the sun, and before you know where you are, there's spiders, threads on there with little spiders, cocoons in there already catching some insects. They're on our side, of course. There's a little one going up and down there. So most of what I can see is evidence of spiders on this tree's bark, but if you took any of it, if you looked underneath, I don't want to actually remove any because the tree probably needs it still, but if you looked underneath any of this, you'll probably see some insects hiding in there. You wouldn't have to poke around very much and you'd see them in there and starting to come out. Bark, incidentally, is an interesting thing culturally because Europeans used to write on that before they had paper. So they'd take it off the tree. I don't really want to take any off, but because you never know what damage it might do. And then they would use it to make the inscriptions on the inside of it. So nowadays it's all done electronically, and you can transfer information very quickly just by means of the electronic bite. But in those days you'd have to actually go out and collect your bark, so obviously the bark was worse than the bite. You knew that was coming about 10 seconds ago, didn't you? Should have done by now. So let's see if these women are all right. Oh, a rare treat for the viewers. You're putting something on your lips. All right? Okay. So this is the machine. I don't know what this white stuff is that I drove through yesterday, some kind of paint or something. I don't know what it was, but it immediately caked onto that tyre, and it hasn't fallen off all yet, but I think it will. So there you go. Not a single insect to be seen right now. If you really looked hard, you just see the beginnings of them underneath the leaves like that. But then when you get just a couple of months down the line, a month maybe, well, a month from now there won't be any shortage of insects, okay? And 2 months from now, every leaf you look under, every leaf you look on, will have an insect on it somewhere, a big one or a small one. And by the time you get through to the end of the season, then the majority of all this plant matter has already been consumed by the insects which are really catching up. The plants get off to a flying start at this time of year, and the insects gradually catch up with them. It's a wonder of nature, really. Just sit back and observe it, really. Amazing stuff.
Oj, 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 oj.